hear a little bit about before his birth and also his interactions with his brother Esau. But as we've been going through this series, we've been looking at three questions. What are we becoming when it comes to ourselves as people of Christ? Our household, so whatever that looks like, if it's, 2, 1, 4, 12. Actually, we don't have any 12s. We don't have those kind of families right now. But whatever your household looks like, and then who are we as Mountainside? And who are we becoming as not only as we look through this series, but also as we just grow as a community. And so we're going to look through Genesis 25:19 through 34, if you have your Bible apps or whatever that might look like. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to walk through it together. Anita posed herself, Josh posed herself as well as the teacher. I'm the talker. I'm not going to talk at you a lot, but I'm going to make you all talk to each other. So introverts, I'm very sorry. Just take a deep breath and know that you can do this. And then extroverts like myself, be kind to those that are around you. They may not have the same joy of talking as I do and as we do. But let's read. These are the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham became the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean, from Paddan or Aram. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife since she was unable to have children. The Lord was moved by his prayers, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. But the boys pushed against each other inside of her, and she said, "If this is what it's like, why did it happen to me?" We'll get there. So she went to ask the Lord, and the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two different peoples will emerge from your body. One people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger." When she reached the end of her pregnancy, she discovered that she had twins. The first came out red all over, clothed in hair, and she named him Esau. Immediately afterward, his brother came out gripping Esau's heel, and she named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. When the young men grew up, Esau became an outdoorsman who knew how to hunt, and Jacob became a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was boiling stew, Esau came in from the field hungry and said to Jacob, "I'm starving. Let me devour some of this red stuff." That's why his name is Edom. Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright today." Esau said, "Since I'm going to die anyway, what good is my birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Give me your word today," and he did. He sold his birthright to Jacob, so Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate, drank, got up, and left, showing just how little he thought of his birthright. This is the word of the Lord. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to break this down together. Again, we're going to do some talking, so look around, who feels comfortable talking to who, all those sort of things, or safe, depending on who you are, introvert, extrovert, or otherwise. So we're going to start. So we're going to give you, let me go back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all about one section, so we're going to take it section by section, and give you about 30 seconds to read over it again, to think what stands out to me. From whatever that section is, what stands out? It could be one thing, it could be four things, whatever it might be, and why does that thing stand out for you? Then I'll tell you to turn and talk again. Turn and talk for a little bit, and then you're going to talk at me, so I need people to talk at me. And then I'll share with you all the things that kind of stood out to me and some questions based off of that. All right, we're good? Okay, got ahead of myself. So take the next 30 seconds. This is our first section. This is, again, Isaac praying for Rebekah, Rebekah becoming pregnant, and then therefore after. So take the next 30 seconds. What stands out to you and why? And then I'll tell you to talk to each other. So 30 seconds. All right, turn to the people next to you, person next to you, somebody that you do know or don't know. It could be anybody. What stood out to you and why? You got 2-ish minutes. We'll see. Ready, set, go. Take one more minute. If someone hasn't had a chance to talk yet, flip it around. Take one more minute. Mm-hmm. 15 more seconds. And we're going to come back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What I do know about Mountainside, and maybe not what we're becoming, but maybe always have been, is we can beat some talkers. So I'm going to bring us back. All right, so I need some people to start shouting out some things. What stood out to you and why? What stood out to you and why? Come on now, don't do that. There you go. Oh, yes, sir. Why did he wait so long to get married? Oh, yeah, it's 40 years. Oh, that is interesting, because you're about, it's, okay. Yeah, the moving of the Lord. That is always interesting. What else do we got? Yes.
I don't know the bigger picture of everything.
Neither do I.
Yeah. They were already pushed against each other, pitted against each other from the very beginning in the womb.
Yeah.
It was nice that he answered the prayer after such a long time.
There was a little congestion inside of there. All right, what else stood out? I'm coming over this way.
Rebecca clearly didn't get it, the bit of when God said there's two nations inside you. Right.
She didn't pick up on the, like, you're about to have twins, so get ready for this. Okay. What else? 2 more things. What else stood out? Now I'm looking over in this direction, just on purpose. Okay. Oh, we'll get to that in a second, but yeah. No, it's okay. I appreciate a man that jumps ahead. Anything else on this section? From my back row, maybe? Yeah, Steve, go.
I was just noticing a lot of parallels between this story and the story of Abraham and Isaac. There's a delay in, he's older when they finally get pregnant.
Yeah.
There's 2 siblings that have a rivalry with each other. They have to pray for this pregnancy to happen. There's a promise that nations will come from his offspring. It's just almost retelling the same story again.
There is a retelling of the same story and also the same conflict, but also maybe we've already fast forwarded because of Anita. We also realize that there's also the same issues of not always following what the Lord has asked us to do in some ways. So, all right, thank you all for talking. You're going to talk again. I'm going to talk for just a little bit. So this is what stood out to me. Isaac prayed to the Lord that for his wife, and since she was unable to have children, then the Lord was moved, and she became pregnant. So in that, as I was thinking about it, looking at it, made me think, what would happen? Who would we become if our prayers were actually answered? Like, what would that look like? The things that you're praying for right now, the things that we're praying as a household, the things you're praying as us as a community, and we can fast forward and that's the next thing we'll talk about is what happened with Rebecca and those feelings. But what would it actually look like? And actually, quick turn and talk. Think about Isaac in this situation as he's praying to the Lord. What's his motivation? What is he motivated by this prayer? What's his motivation? So quick, 30 seconds, turn and talk. What's his motivation? 2 to 3 words. Ready, set, go. All right, throw out your words, throw out your phrases real quick. Real quick, what was Isaac motivated by? Yep. Ooh, come on, girl. So he was motivated by the societal pressures, especially at this time. If he didn't have a family, what did that mean for him in society? Did I get that right? Okay, great. Anything else that we feel? Yes, sir. Okay. Wanted to please his wife at any cost. Any other motivations? Anything else?
All the stories his dad told about being the father of a huge nation.
Yeah. How are you supposed to be a great nation if it's more than one person? If you don't have offspring. So again, we can point out Isaac's motivation for his prayers because we have obviously what we're seeing. But I challenge you, I challenge myself to think about as we're praying for those things, whatever it might be, what's our motivation behind that? What are we motivated by? What's that bring us? And there's also something interesting, and I didn't think of this. For those that don't know, Renee's brother is one of the most intelligent people in the world, but he's getting his PhD at Oxford in theology. I'm not going to say his dissertation because I still don't understand it. But I had a chance to talk to him about this, and what he pointed out was that, at least in our records, biblically, this is the only time that Isaac is shown to go to the Lord about something. After he gets what he's praying for, he never goes back. Ooh, I like that. He's one and done. He got it and was gone. So again, that brings up the question, not only what was his motivation, but then also for us, what do we do when the Lord does answer a prayer? What do we do after that? So let's move on. I shouldn't read this one because it feels inappropriate because I've never experienced this. But the boys pushed against each other inside of her, and she said, if this is what it's like, why did it happen to me? Can all those women that have experienced pregnancy say amen? So again, the question that this brought up to me was, what would happen if we got that prayer and it didn't live up to what we thought we would become? So we asked for the friendship, we asked for the relationship, we asked for the job, we asked for whatever it is to get into a certain college, to get a certain thing, but then it didn't live up to what we thought it was, or is a lot more painful than we thought it was going to be. What would that force us, or what would that move us to become? I know from my own life, super quick story, for those of you that don't know, I used to coach football at APU before they took it away, and not going back anytime ever again. But I had prayed and prayed for this position to be essentially what's called a director of football operations, where I was get to be in charge of all the things and all the stuff away from the football side of things. And it finally happened, and I was so excited, and it was so wonderful, and it caused me so much stress and anxiety and ulcers. It was miserable. But I got the thing I wanted, but I didn't know what was going to actually happen on the back end of it. And we'll talk about what prayers look like later on, and when there are actually just in a second, what happens when you wait for a thing. So the last thing that stood out to me, not the only thing, but just for time-wise, that Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah became pregnant. They got married at 40. I'm not good at math, but she got pregnant at 60. It's 20 years that they were trying, praying, wondering. What happens in that waiting when you are praying so much for a thing and it doesn't happen? When you're asking for the thing that is truly a good thing, you're asking for someone's healing, you're asking for a change in a situation, and it doesn't happen. What happens in the waiting? Who do we become in the waiting? What happens in your household when you're waiting on that thing to be answered? What happens to our church when we're saying, Lord, please, and nothing is still happening? But also in this case, Isaac got the thing, so the waiting worked out. But I just wonder, for myself, for you all, is if we're praying for something for so long, is the prayer the thing we're going to God about, or is it God that we're going to God about? Does it become so much of our regular rhythm to pray for this thing that that's why we have a relationship with Christ? That's the reason we come to church. That's the reason why you go to be with people. It's because of that prayer and the hope, the answer for that thing. I don't have an answer to that. I'll never have an answer to that one. But as we're waiting, and it's good for us to wait, I can think of many of things I prayed for that, oh my God, I'm so glad that I didn't get in the time that I wanted it. But in the waiting, what happens in that? All right, next turn and talk. This is our next section. So this is a section that the boys grow up. Esau comes to Jacob. Well, actually, we should point out that actually you guys can figure out what's wrong with one parent loving another kid, another parent loving another kid. But Jacob and Esau's interaction. So take 30 seconds, excuse me, to look over that, think through it. All right, turn to the people around you. What stood out? Why? You got 2.5-ish minutes. Ready, set, go. Hey.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. No, All right, 1 more minute. If you haven't had a chance to talk yet, this is your chance. 1 more minute. All right, 15 seconds. And I'm going to ask that someone that hasn't spoken yet, please shout out or call out. So if you've already spoken, I'd love for you to give space for someone else. So if you haven't yet shared a thought, I am also a teacher, so just like a good teacher, I'm happy to call on people. But yes, more.
I think part of what stands out to me is that when we are gifted, most of the time we don't know how valuable that gift is, and we don't know how important.
Can you say a little bit more about that? What? I do. Again, one of these days, Maureen, we're going to get you up here to preach, but this will be the starting point.
No, but that's the truth. Sometimes we are blessed beyond measure, either as speakers or singers or writers or just somebody who helps somebody else, and we are not aware. We do not use it like God intended.
Okay. Jake?
Just off the bat of the story, I was an older brother of two. I have two sons. I'm a little bit hairier too, so I'm like, but it's always a little bit uncomfortable when like Jacob was, like conniving a little bit and devious and greedy, and Esau seems really dumb and impulsive. So it's a little hard to like think about the larger story unfolding with, two humans that are acting like humans.
Yeah.
But, so just off the bat.
I appreciate that. Also, I appreciate you pointing out that they are humans. I know that we read it in the Word, and sometimes, at least for myself, I'll see like what's happening in the Bible and think, oh, they should have been better. But these are just two dudes trying to figure out life. All right, last one, Julia. Yes. How soon? I'm going to die anyway. What does this birthright mean to me? So it's a very good question. Let's jump into that in a second. So these two things that stood out to me as I was reading and looking. So Jacob's boiling stew. Esau comes and says, "Can I have some of this red stuff?" I didn't know first what Edom meant, so like everyone, I checked on Google. And then I confirmed with an actual theologian, my brother-in-law. And Edom is red in Hebrew. Like, it just means red. Which is interesting. He was born red and hairy, but his mom didn't name him Edom. It wasn't until this point in the scriptures that Edom is put on him because of this one moment, him asking for the red stuff. He then, to God's truth, becomes the father of a nation called the Edomites. So this one moment of him wanting red stuff, not only does it change for him and what he does with his birthright, but also literally names his entire nation. So Anita kind of mentioned it last week, this tug and pull of not sitting in one decision that someone makes, because there is God's grace and his mercy, but also realizing like one decision could change the name of your entire family or yourself. So thinking like, how can one decision impact yourself or your household or us as a community? And let's just not also sit in the negative. Like, this could also be positive. Like, one good decision could change things for a positive. But it is hard sitting in this, not every decision has to be the biggest decision, but every decision does matter. And what do we do with that? What do we do with that when it is a poor decision, a decision that's made out of, I feel like I'm going to die moment? So, again, no answers, just questions. So we do get to the point that Jacob says, sell me your birthright today. He's very adamant, it's got to be today. We can talk for many days on why that is. But then Esau's, to Yolanda's point, was he really going to die at that moment? Which, before we judge him too much, think those moments of like, I'm going to just die of embarrassment for my teenagers, or this test is going to be the hardest, it's going to kill me, or these children are going to be the death of me for all those parents in the room, or my boss is killing me. They are just asking too much. I think we've all had these moments where we think things are bigger than they really are, and in those moments, sometimes we make rash decisions. We may not sell our birthright, which the birthright is a whole other sermon for someone else to preach on. But sometimes we get to this point. So don't judge Esau too much, because we've probably all done it. I know I have. But this piece brought up this question, that in light of our current circumstances, so again, Esau really did feel like, for whatever reason, that this was the end. If I don't get some food right now, I might as well just fall on the ground and never get back up. So for all of us, in the light of our current circumstances, if it's the beginning of a new school year, getting ready to go off to college, starting a new job, a new relationship, a new season of life, in light of our current circumstances, what decisions are we making? Again, they can be good decisions. I know this one is negative and it doesn't turn out great, but they can be good decisions. But just like Esau, when we're in those moments of, oh my God, I could literally just die if such and such thing doesn't happen. What do we do with that? How does that work out for us? And I also, even though I'm pointing fingers at Esau, I'm going to point a finger at Jacob real quick too. He saw an opportunity to take advantage of a situation in light of his circumstances. Because again, he was the younger brother. He wasn't going to have a birthright, which, again, quick on the birthright, it's a social construct. Like the birthright, and what he's talking about is, again, I'm getting this from theologian brother-in-law, this is a social construct, this birthright idea. So he saw this as an opportunity to really just take on a responsibility of the family that he really didn't want. He just wanted a social status. So again, in light of that, those moments where we might be able to elevate ourselves in a certain situation, a certain way, what are those decisions that we make? And how do those, again, impact nations? And I think we have a good example in Mark and Karen in the space of 50 years of marriage and all of the work that they've done literally across the world. And here, how small decisions in light of your current circumstances could go one way or another. So again, we have Jacob and Esau, but I'd like to just turn to Mark and Karen, even though Karen's not here right now, as she always is. And just think, we have two very different pictures of circumstances. And I'm not going to share all of Mark and Karen's circumstances, but they had plenty of reasons to make other decisions, but they chose to continue to serve the Lord. I'm very thankful for that, for your example of that. So, in wrapping, these are our three questions that we've been digging into as a body. What are we becoming as we grow closer and move more towards Christ? What does it look like in your household to be not just these places of presence and grace and truth, but whatever you're trying to build in your household, whatever that might look like, if you're at the start of it, end it, whatever that is. And then again, for us as a community, what does it look like for us to be a community that does justice, hospitality, community, and walks humbly with the Lord on both sides of it? And as we do make mistakes, because to Jake's point, we're all human. Jacob and Esau were human. We're just trying to do our best. So where does grace come in? Where does accountability come in? And then how do we move forward in all of this? So that is my signal, and I appreciate your time. God bless everybody.
Welcome back, everyone.